It's time to rock and roll!
Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Waffle Press Movie Hangouts. I'm your host, Diego Crespo. With me today is my co-host, Gina Versa.
Hey, good to see you.
Yeah,
Be
good to
back.
see you too. Yeah, good to be back. And we're joined by one of our favorite recurring guests. I think it's been way too long since we had him on this show. Richard Newby, my friend, OG Twitter pal, OG film pal. How the hell are
Hey,
you? What is up?
I'm good. Thank you guys for having me. I'm excited to chat with you guys today. It has
Yeah,
been a while, so
yeah,
I'm definitely excited to chat again.
yeah. I think it's been 3 years actually.
Oh wow.
That's
Because
too long.
the
That's too
last
long.
one you were on was Justice League,
Oh wow.
Snyder Cut. Yeah,
Yeah,
Oh,
that's way
yeah.
too long.
Yeah,
We got to do it more often.
yeah, we
yeah.
do. We do. We're gonna get you back a lot sooner next time. But well, what have you been up to before we get started on today's episode? Like what's up? What's going on? Tell us everything.
Yeah. Still writing for THR and Fangoria mostly. The new issue of Fangoria has shipped out, and I have some alien coverage in there, which I'm very excited about. Uh, I got to so I can reveal this now. I got to talk
Yes.
to not only Fede Alvarez but also Ridley Scott, which was
Wow. That's
probably like one of the highlights of my entire career. Uh, I was super nervous just because he has a reputation for not particularly liking interviews. But he was really nice. He gave really great responses, really interesting, like thoughtful guy. It was just like it was crazy talking to a legend. And then of course like he's directed my favorite movie of all time, which is Blade Runner. So just like, being able to say that to him, like,
Mhm.
hey, like Blade Runner is like the reason why I do all of this was just uh it was just an incredible experience. Yeah.
That's really cool. I'm looking forward to that because I subscribed this year to Fangoria, so yeah, I'm really excited to read
Nice.
those articles.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Um
we'll have to do something for Alien. I think it's
Yeah,
unfortunately my brand. Well, not unfortunately. I
right.
love
It
them, but
is.
we'll have to maybe we'll have to see if we can squeeze you back on for Alien. Frankly, just
yeah,
to double back on that. But yeah, that's
yeah.
so awesome. I'm so happy for you. That's so cool.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. So that was cool. Currently working on a few things for THR. So I'm doing a ranking of all of Ryan Reynolds' films, his entire filmography, which has been quite the experience. If you guys follow me on Letterboxd, people will know that I've been recording a lot of Ryan Reynolds movies. I'd seen a lot of them before, but there's a lot of his like older stuff, his like Canadian and like introductory stuff um, that I hadn't seen before, and so it's been interesting. I will say that he makes a lot of the movies watchable that would not otherwise be watchable.
Yeah, good
Yeah.
actor. Good
Yeah,
actor. I don't want to. We're not here to talk about Ryan Reynolds, so I don't want to spend too much time on that. But and I don't want to speak for you, Richard. But I think you and I had a sort of like mutual understanding that like he tends to shit on Green Lantern. I think
Mhm.
that's very common, and I think you and I
yeah,
were like, maybe it's not even your worst movie anymore,
yeah.
pal. But I don't know. I just remember that
Yeah.
very vividly because we were like, hey, maybe don't shit so close to where you eat, man. A lot of
Yeah.
people work on these things.
Yeah.
Yeah, someone had told me when I mentioned this on Twitter, someone said like nothing can be worse than Green Lantern. And I was like, oh, you have no idea.
Yeah, some people don't even know. Like,
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, but
I've delved down the deep dark channels of Tubi to find some of the stuff, and
yeah, Tubi,
yeah,
the people streaming service for better
yeah,
and worse,
yeah.
Yes.
Um, I don't know. I think oh, here's a pivot. I like Six Underground a lot though. I
I
that
like that
that's
one.
I do
that's
Yeah.
too.
some that's some quality Bayham in there.
Yeah.
Definitely written by the Deadpool guys, so your mileage may vary, but
Yeah. Yeah.
in terms of just like unabashed bayhem, it's pretty good. It
Yeah.
opens with like just an insane set piece, and never really tops that, but I thought it was a good time. I think it's one of Netflix's better movies, and
Yeah.
For sure.
it is hard to live up to the name of Bayhem. And so we're here to talk about Bad Boys for Life. Oh, excuse me, Bad Boys Ride or Die. It should have been
Ride or
called
Die.
Bad Boys for Life.
For
Yeah. But yeah, we're here to talk about the best movie of the year so far. I don't know if I believe that, but I think it's the most fun I've had in the theater so far this year,
Mhm.
and I'm very happy to say that.
Yeah.
You know what? Richard, as the guest, I wanna hear from you, but I have not heard from Gene at all about this movie. I just know you saw it. And I'd
Yes.
like to just bounce to you really quickly, Gene, and then let's get back to our amazing guest.
Oh,
Gene,
sure.
thoughts on Bad Boys Ride or Die?
Right. I really enjoyed it. It was very much a good blockbuster. You know, Will Smith and Martin Lawrence are very likable as those characters, and they were pretty great. I don't want to get into the spoilers of it, but some of the, I guess, metaphysical aspects of it were kind of like, huh, like I was like that. I did not expect that in a Bad Boys movie, but I think it works for the story. But I'm like, that took me really off guard.
Yeah. Richard, where are you coming from with the Bad Boys? What are your thoughts on Bad Boys 4? And
Uh,
yeah, just your whole angle.
yeah, I really enjoyed it as well. The dynamic between Smith and Lawrence is always so much fun. Um, it didn't quite reach the heights of For Life for me. I think part of that is just because like I never thought that Bad Boys 3 was gonna happen. And so
Yeah,
like it happening in itself was just like such like a like wow, we're back kind of a thing. So like it doesn't have quite the same effect with four in terms of that like, you know, settling in with like old friends again, pretty much. But yeah, I thought it was still a lot of fun. The third act for me, it was what really like sealed the deal for it. I love that third act. Yeah, without getting into spoilers, there's like two elements of the third act that like are always gonna win me over. So
yeah,
Yeah, if anyone followed me on social media, my journey with this movie for the last couple months has been a real highlight of my life. Um, I got to shout out my friend who took me to the premiere, which is the greatest gift anyone has ever given me, arguably, besides life. Um, that was a real blast. They're a quality friend, and I owe them my life now. Um, and separately, the friends over at Discussing Film who let me go to the Bad Boys Porsche Experience event, which was incredibly fun. I spoke a little bit about it on the In Session Film podcast episode I was on for Bad Boys. Love those guys, great podcast. I'd recommend it. Even episodes I'm not on. But yeah, that event, I just want to talk about that really quickly because it was so funny because it's like there was like a relay race there, and then you learn how to like drive you yourself drive the Porsches and do the experience thing.
mm,
There's no one driving you, you do it. So I got to learn how to drift. It's not that hard. They make it like it is kind of like as easy as it looks in the movies.
yeah.
You have to have a car that's durable for it, and I do not. So I can't do that outside of that place. But like okay, so it's like a physical event. Like you're doing a lot of motion, and I don't know if you guys know this, Gene and Richard, but people listening or watching this might not know. Film journalists and influencers and TikTokers, um, different breeds of people. Not many of them on either side of that aisle are in great shape, and that's totally fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not in the best shape of my life exactly either, right? But it was really funny for them to like run down the relay race, which is a very like you're swinging from shit, you're climbing shit, you're flipping, you're kicking down doors, and then just see like half the crowd of people just kind of like walk away. It's like, oh, okay, I can't do that, and
Yeah.
I barely was able to do it, and it wasn't like I
Mhm.
didn't pass it with flying colors, So I don't blame them, but I just thought that was so funny. I was like, who do they think is coming to this thing? You know,
Yeah.
like that was wild.
You finished though. You finished.
I did finish, but I was like, it was a lot of heavy breathing after and stuff. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie here.
And then like Will Smith did it like 3 times as you were like trying to do the one
yeah,
relay.
yeah. Will Smith did like show up in Martin Lawrence, and Will Smith is like, yeah, he's my ideal movie star. He's my favorite movie star. He's the ultimate
Yeah.
hype man.
Mhm.
He's like, see this in theaters. I'm like, fuck yeah, I will see this in theaters, dude. But yeah, so that was just so funny to me. I'm gonna remember that forever. Just like the journalist, like, yeah, I'm gonna go start writing my article. Like, yeah, I get it. Yeah, it totally makes sense. Yeah, you got deadlines. But yeah, Bad Boys Ride or Die. I think this is I having settled with it now longer. I think this is my second favorite in the franchise. I do have hangups, and some of that is the writing, which I do think is otherwise sturdy, minus my hangups.
Right, right.
Like the turnaround in this movie was like they shot it like 3 months before the premiere, which is just like,
Wow.
don't do that to people. Don't, like, I'm glad it worked here. Don't ever do that again. Oh my God. Allegedly the deadlines were like not soul crushing. Like no one was like, I'm never doing this again, but it was,
Right.
that's a fucking lot of work in a
Yes.
very short
Yeah.
amount of time. But I think it lacks a little bit of the heart from Bad Boys for Life. Bad Boys 3. I agree, Richard. That has a really key element of just like wholesomeness, which is like maybe strange to say about these movies.
Yeah.
And it still has heart, but it doesn't hit the same way that movie does, like when Martin Lawrence or Will Smith comes back with he throws back the Martin Lawrence line in his face, like I'm trying to penetrate this man's soul with my heart, which is like a very sincere, like that's a truthful moment. He's actually trying to do that. He's not making a joke. He's trying to
Yeah.
reach out to his son.
Yes.
And here
Yeah.
there's not really a moment like that, which is okay because there's so much action in this movie that I genuinely don't know how they like accomplished it. And I think that's my big takeaway from this. This is like truly like a great action movie. And I remember some criticisms about Adil and Bilal's like action direction last time. Where I was like, it's not Bayhem, but it's a pretty good movie, like on its
Yeah.
own terms.
Yeah.
And I think these guys have a little something to prove, having had a movie taken away from them unjustly.
Right. It's that's unfortunate.
And so they're like, okay, like we have to prove to people that we're not hacks.
Yes.
And that we're not like a one-trick pony with Bad Boys 3. So
Yeah.
let's go all out. Let's build these rigs so Will Smith can operate with a first-person shooter mode. Let's get the drones in there. We love the ambulance. Let's flip the camera around some more. Let's slap these bad boys on the top of moving cars. And it's just like, whoa, this is a lot. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
I thought it was terrific, frankly.
Same.
But Richard, I guess thoughts on the action here, and then we can get into spoilers and stuff. I want to talk about some of the stuff that didn't work for me.
Yeah, I love what Adil and Lil are doing. Like just some incredible shots, and just like the camera is like constantly doing something interesting, which I love. There's nothing static about it. Even at the wedding party, even that is just like full of like really creative shots, like on the dance floor, and just like they're constantly like finding new angles to do stuff with. I think they definitely have a different style than Bay. I don't think that they use as many explosions, which I do kind of miss Bay's firework explosions. But like in terms of like the camera movement and stuff, I mean, it's so creative, just like the switching of perspectives and like utilizing set pieces too. I think that they are incredible with set pieces. I think that Bay has like this great capability for like these like large full landscape action sequences, but like you put like those directors in a warehouse and like let them loose, and it's like some of the best action that you'll see of the year.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know anything that might like surpass it this year just for like strictly action.
Yeah, I mean, I think like Furiosa, like
Mhm.
when because there's an action scene in that movie that is just like I don't
Yeah,
even know how to describe it. So like I feel like Furiosa is like okay, we don't you don't
right,
talk
right.
about normal movies next to that one, so we're gonna put that one on a pedestal.
Sure, sure.
And then other movies, okay, yeah,
Yeah,
Bad
yeah,
Boys
coming
4,
up
Yeah,
nah,
in the
yeah.
rest of the year, you know?
yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah, totally. Um, Gene, what did you think about the action?
No, I was really enjoying it. I remember, I guess that the behind the scenes clip of the rig that kind of went viral, just watching that on Twitter, and you're like seeing like Will Smith, like he does the thing where he's like shooting and then the camera flips around on him. I'm like, man, that is so freaking cool. And seeing the scene in the movie was incredible. I guess, slight spoilers, like just the fact that the last action scene involved a giant crocodile was really fun, you know.
Yeah,
Uh, like it really added personality to like this like final like set piece, which it's like I can't think of like an action movie in the last couple of years where it's like, oh yeah, giant crocodile, or like some sort of like weird interesting set piece where it's like I've never seen that before. So it was like, yeah, it was really interesting. There was a lot of, stakes. We'll talk about it later, but just the fact where it was like Bad Boys for Life, where it was like it wasn't just action. There was like also, a storyline where, it's like emotional beats, things like that. Like it was, yeah, it was pretty great.
yeah, yeah. I agree. The third act, I think the world's in
Mhm,
agreement. Like everyone's like, yeah, that's like where the movie becomes like 5 stars. Like that,
mhm.
that's the shit right there.
Yeah,
Um,
it
yeah,
makes me very interested in how the action scenes, and it sucks maybe we'll never see it, but like how the action scenes were in Batgirl, like, because I'm sure like
yeah,
they did some really cool stuff, and I don't know, yeah, it certainly would have been better of if it came out last year. It certainly would have been the better action scenes involving Michael Keaton's Batman than the
For
other
sure.
movie with Michael Keaton's Batman, which don't want to say. Yeah.
I missed that other one, and
Yeah,
yeah, I just didn't. I'm not a fan of that filmmaker, so that's just a personal thing.
fair enough. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I'll just say really quick because on Batgirl, just since we brought it up already,
Sure.
like
Yeah.
if that movie was even like truly the worst like superhero movie of last year, like it doesn't matter. Like it still should have been released,
Exactly.
and
Yeah.
like people
Yeah,
worked on that, and like I maybe I hate it if I do watch it one day, and I'm like, yeah, that sucks. It's the worst movie. They've done so much better work. Everyone involved, like
Mhm.
people still worked on it, and like they committed time and money to it, and to be able to write off the work of hundreds and thousands of people just for tax incentives is I think it should be criminal. So
Yeah. It's very
for
unethical.
sure.
yeah.
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 Um but Bad Boys Ride or Die is not criminal. In
No.
fact, it is cool as hell.
Yeah. I was just gonna bring up before we go into the
Yeah,
spoiler
please, please,
discussion,
please.
because like Bad Boys 2 was, I guess, like there's a lot of elements of this movie that like tied into Bad Boys 2 for some reason. And I was gonna say the other thing that tied into Bad Boys 2 was I'm not sure if anyone knows because really wanted to bring this up. Mike Low or sorry, not Mike Lowry. Uh, his sister, Martin Lawrence's character, she had a spinoff that aired
Yes.
on Fox. Did anyone see
It
that?
did not
Oh
air on
wow, I did not
Fox.
know that.
It
Yeah.
aired
Oh, it didn't.
on like Freeform or something like that
Oh,
on one
okay.
of those like channels that's like barely
Yeah.
real. Nothing
Yeah.
against the show. I
Right.
maybe the show is like a banger and just no one saw it because it was
Yeah.
on one of these smaller channels, right? But yeah, it like
Yeah.
Lexi Alexander directed an episode on it
Yes.
too. She's a good director and like
Jessica
When
Alba
did this
was
come out?
2020, and it
Oh my
lasted, or
gosh,
2019, and it lasted for like till 2020.
oh
And they brought
never
back,
heard of it. It's crazy.
yeah, it's called Ellie's Finest. They brought back Gabrielle Union as
Okay.
his sister Sydney, and then it also had Jessica Alba for some reason, and
Hmm.
also Ernie Hudson plays her dad, which is also, I guess, Martin Lawrence's character's dad too.
That's kind of amazing
I do
casting.
love Ernie Hudson. I would like to see
Yeah,
him in the next Bad Boys.
Bad Boys.
Yeah,
Yeah.
bring them back. I don't
Mhm.
know if she's down to come back, but Gabrielle Union
Mhm.
should come back.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Bad Boys 2 is genuinely a masterpiece, and
Yes.
she's great in it, and she
Yeah.
looks great in it, and she still looks
Mhm.
great, and that's what I'll say about that. But Ernie Hudson popping up as his dad would be like so killer.
Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
I want that so bad now. I
it's
didn't
in
know that part.
continuity. It's in continuity.
Yeah, I
I
didn't know that
researched it.
part. That's pretty great. Good job.
Yeah. Oh, thank you.
Yeah, so I mean we could just like talk spoilers now. So
Yes.
you've all seen Bad Boys Ride or Die. We've seen the box office receipts.
Mhm.
Um I just want to vent really quick about, well, not even vent, just like I guess the one thing that maybe doesn't work for me is like um they need stakes to give Will Smith like panic attacks. I don't know if you needed
Yeah.
a
yeah,
new character to be his wife for that. I think you could just have him being older and everyone else kind of moving on around him. Like
Mhm.
I'm totally fine with his love interest from the last movie moving on and like them not being
yeah,
together. I think that's totally
That's
fine. I
fine.
think that's surprisingly thoughtful and mature
Mhm.
that they're still like good friends and coworkers. And
Yeah.
like,
yeah,
they didn't expect that in a Bad Boys movie. And maybe that could even address it too. He's like, oh, she's moving on, she's found someone. I'm I don't really have anyone else, and I don't know what I'm living for anymore. And then
Yeah.
that incites the panic attacks. Um, like the idea that like this one female character's in the movie just to kind of be that, and that's all she's there for. That
yeah,
feels like super aggressive.
Yeah.
And I was
yeah.
like, I was shocked. I was like, oh, I didn't know we're still doing that in these movies,
Yeah.
in any
Yeah,
movies.
that
So
that aspect, like, and Captain's daughter and granddaughter, uh,
Mm.
like both of them, like neither, like none of those characters, like actually felt like they were like real characters situated in this world because
No.
we're meeting them for the first time, and yet we have to be like we're supposed to be super invested in like their safety. And it's like, well, we don't know any of these people. Like, this has never been established before. Like, we haven't seen these relationships grow. Like, that just didn't work for me, on different levels. I felt like, if you wanted to have some of those connections, then like use characters that have already been introduced. But just like, you know, Captain Howard having just like a random like full grown daughter who's like also like in the police or special forces or whatever. It was
Yeah.
just like, I don't know, they just like caught me off guard. And then the same with Smith's wife and that. And I
Mhm.
was like trying to remember like the first like 10 minutes or so, I was trying to remember like if she had been in any of the previous movies. And I was like, no, this is like an entirely new character, but like we're supposed to be like super invested in this love story. But like she really doesn't like exist as a character in the
No.
movie. She's just kind of like hostage chick.
Yeah.
which isn't great. Yeah.
Yeah. It was like, yeah, it was just very abrupt. I was like, who are these people? You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, there's lots of talk about like, with like romance and sex in movies, and like, we
Mm.
got to this point where no sex is happening in movies because of rightful criticism of how, and I believe of rightful criticism of how uh, women are portrayed often in films as just the romantic lead, the
Mhm.
sexual object to be desired and won and stuff like that. That's a real problem for a lot of movies throughout history. And then,
Yeah.
maybe we kind of flatlined like sexual intimacy on films a little too fast, I would argue. And then
Yeah.
this movie reminds me like, oh, that's how we got there. Like, because
Yeah.
it was just, if you could replace them with like a plank of wood, it's not like a good sign for your screenplay. Um,
Yeah.
so it's like, okay, yeah, there's valid arguments to still fix some of the stuff up a little
Yeah,
bit.
Yeah.
exactly.
And I
Yeah.
feel like the bad boys used to fuck, in the movies, like in the
Yeah.
Michael Bay movies. And they
Hmm.
don't do that anymore. And I feel like there's a way to like have like a sexual relationship and chemistry between characters and also like make them, a full character with
Mhm.
their own lives. I feel
Yeah.
like Tia Leone, she's the lead in the first movie, right? The
Yeah,
female.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't particularly care for that character, but I do feel that like she has her own life beyond them, like she's on her own mission and stuff.
Hmm.
And I feel like that's definitely something that like needs to be brought back. Like you can have both romance and like an active female character who isn't just like at home waiting to like miss the call on the phone.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. And you know, it is funny that Bay's gotten criticism. I would argue also rightful criticism for how it
Right.
portrays people in films, women
Yeah.
specifically. But
Yeah.
like stuff like Taylor Newton's character in Bad Boys is a great example of like, yeah, she's got her own stuff going on. Michaela in the first Transformers, I think people
Ah,
have kind of come around as being like, hey, that's not like a weak character. That's a pretty strong like protagonist in there. Like
Yeah,
maybe arguable that it's the more interesting protagonist in that movie.
yeah.
And I love that first Transformers, but like you know,
It's still good.
yeah,
it's so weird. It's like yeah, it's like you know the criticisms of sexism and like you know all that stuff is totally valid. It's just like, but even he still like he got enough of like a curveball in there and the character and the writing to make
yeah,
it compelling versus like here,
Yeah.
which is
yeah,
unfortunate. But yeah, people need to fuck more in these Bad Boys, or at least like they don't even need to be like new characters. Like I always love that Martin Lawrence and his wife they're always trying to like fuck in these
yeah,
movies. And like I genuinely find that like really touching in a way
Yeah.
where it's like
yeah,
no they love like there's never any like outside of the first movie there's never any conflict within the marriage relationship itself. It's like they get
yeah,
flustered and stuff, but it's like no, like you know they're trying to find time for each other.
Yeah.
yeah,
And
Yeah.
that's like that's awesome. That could be a version of fucking that's in these movies more.
for sure.
And
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Teresa Randall is not back for this one
I
either.
really missed
Yeah.
her. I
Yeah.
really
It
missed her
was,
presence in this movie.
Yeah, me too.
Uh, I just feel like she just has like such great like comedic timing, but like, can also pull off the emotional scenes. She was definitely missed. I don't know
yeah.
what it was behind the scenes that like didn't work out, but I definitely
Yeah.
missed
It's so weird where it's like when like you know, it's a series of movies like this, and in like the third or fourth one, they're like, oh, okay, supporting character, entirely new actor. That just like throws you off, you know?
her. Yeah,
Yeah. Where it's like, you know, if it's not something like, like the actor passing away, you know, it's very jarring. Yeah.
Yeah.
right. They even managed to bring what the big tall guy from the first movie back. So it's like, like there's clearly a sense of continuity there. So it
Mhm.
just like really threw me off with the
Yeah.
recast. Yeah.
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 Who I got to bump into at the premiere, by the
Oh, really?
way. Yeah.
He's very tall.
He is very, 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 very tall. He's very, very tall. Very nice man. Very tall.
Yes.
It's the only one to cheer for him when he made his cameo in the movie.
Yes.
I was like, yeah. And then I was also the one to gasp when he exits the picture
Yeah.
abruptly.
I was genuinely kind of bummed about that.
Yeah, me too.
Like I know that there's there's some mean spiritedness in the franchise,
Yeah.
but I don't know. It seemed like he like had his act together. He was doing something nice for the community.
Mhm.
I was kind of bummed to see him go off that
Yeah.
way.
It was also like really brutal. He gets like sniped in the head, you know,
Yeah,
Yeah.
which
yeah,
is like I don't know if it's supposed to be like shocking or like whatever, but it felt very like unnecessary for like that scene or like that character. I'm like, oh, I liked him, and now he's dead. You know?
yeah,
Yeah.
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 I was kind of worried for a second when they're like, oh, this goes back to the entire like
Mhm.
well, at least like Will Smith was hyping it up like, you know, the premiere like
yeah,
opening, right? The
Yeah.
final words. Like it's like, oh, this ties back to the entire franchise. They all connect to this movie. And I was like, okay, like they're saying, like, you know, everyone says that for every sequel. It's like you gotta watch all the others. Like you probably don't.
Yeah.
But no, you kind of do. And for a second I was like, oh, are they like gonna like Spectre it or something?
Spectre, I was gonna
I
say,
I
yeah.
actually like Spectre now.
Yeah.
I've come around in that movie a bit, but like I don't
I do too. But I do think though, like I'm the author of all your pain line like
uh-huh.
always makes me laugh whenever I think of like these movies, like having to like relate to like all the past
Yeah.
stuff, and
Hmm.
there's like
Ret-
one person who's been manipulating all these separate villains and stuff.
yeah.
Yeah.
Retcon.
Yeah,
What a
yeah.
crazy ass like retcon that
I know.
was.
Well, I was worried about that with this movie, and it's like it's kind of there, but it's not like in your face and such. So I was like, okay, it's
Right.
there's like it's very loose threads, like oh they had deals with that person and stuff like that. It's like okay.
Yeah. Fair
It all
enough.
takes us to Captain Howard's Force Ghost though, which is maybe the greatest
Yes.
cinematic invention
I
of the year for me.
Yeah, Joe Pantoliano. He's not in a lot. He hasn't been in a lot of movies, so it's like it's always good to see him. and I'm glad they found a way for him in. But it's like when like Marcus has like the heart attack and he goes through like I guess the afterlife, and then like he talks to Force Ghost Captain Howard and he gives him an ominous warning, like it works, but I'm like what's going on? And then like when he's also talking about, because it's like you see all those like quick cuts of like there's like scenery or like
Oh
landscapes,
yeah,
yeah, or
yeah.
like random stuff, and then he's explaining it later. He's like, oh, I saw all our past lives. And it's like one version, like what do you say, like he was like Will Smith's character, Michael
Was a
Lowry was like
donkey.
was a donkey, and he's like, you were stubborn. And I'm like, what? And it's like I remember that cut of a donkey earlier in that, because I
Yeah,
remember seeing that and I'm like, huh, like that's interesting. I don't know if it's like bad, but it's like I just really did not expect that in a Bad Boys movie.
yeah.
Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
I
yeah. Hmm.
yeah, I definitely thought it was interesting. I don't know if like
Hmm.
it was quite as funny as like the script thought it was.
Yeah.
Uh, which
Yeah.
which is the other thing is like I felt, and like I don't want to sound like I'm dumping on the movie because like I
Mhm.
really did thoroughly enjoy the movie, but
Yeah.
like from like a script writing standpoint, like I thought that the humor could have been punched up
Yeah.
um, a little more, like how the last one was. And then, I think that Bad Boys 2 is probably like the funniest movie
Yeah.
in the franchise. And like, I mean,
Yeah.
like not all of it like works, in terms of today's audiences, like things would definitely need to be changed. But I do feel like some of the like comedy was just like missing a beat in this one.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It just like it could have been like some gags just didn't work. Like
Yeah.
some gags were just kind of, duds. Which, I mean, Martin Lawrence and Will Smith, they're really funny. They
Yeah.
have like great comedic timing. But yeah. I was gonna say, I guess like a gag that did land, because I guess now it's like a 20-year running gag, was like I was gonna bring up the best scene in the movie where Reggie gets his time to shine.
Yes.
Yeah, that was watching that with an audience and them cheering for, Reggie, like just going like John Wick on assassins, was just
Yeah.
like incredible, because it's like it all checks out too, because it's like he's a Marine in the last one. And then like, yeah, like he, of course, he's gonna like defend his family. And it's just like that was incredible. I love that scene. Diego
It
has
was
to,
awesome.
yeah, Diego has
Yeah.
to say how it was like at the premiere.
I thought I was at a concert for that
Hmm.
scene. People
Hmm.
were losing their fucking minds. That
Yeah.
was so awesome. And I have to say, just to even go back to Bad Boys 3,
Oh,
because I saw that like 4 times in theaters.
yeah.
And every time the Reggie scene, the Reggie cameo at that wedding scene, like it got like an enormous response. And I saw like a
Yeah.
matinee one time too, and it
Yeah.
still got like a rapturous response from like people love these movies and they love these characters and they love the appearance of Reggie.
Reggie. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
naturally, his scene in this movie just brought the fucking house down, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, when I saw three on opening night and like, Reggie had seen for the first time, like people like whistled and like clapped, like they really like him, which I think is awesome.
Yeah.
And I also think because like that scene in Bad Boys 2 is so memorable, like it's
Hmm.
like one of the funniest scenes of the franchise.
Yeah.
So I
And
think that definitely like accounts for like so much of it
hmm,
too. Like you feel
yeah.
for this guy, but also like he's in like such a memorable scene. Like it's such a great introduction.
Yeah. Well, it's also kind of like, I mean, it wasn't anything like mean spirited, but like, they've been like kind of crapping on Reggie for like 20 years. And now he finally
Yeah.
got his time to shine, where it's like, I mean, I don't know. I mean, the third one, they didn't really, I mean, yeah, they kind of like are kind of make fun of Reggie. And then I just love that, like, now he's like being cheered on by like, Mike and, you know, uh, Mike and everything. So it's cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
it's like, yeah.
I just want to shout out Dennis McDonald. That's the actor that plays Reggie. He's only in 3 movies, and they're
They're
all
all
bad
bad.
boys.
They're all bad.
Perfect. It's a perfect
Yes.
run.
Well, we need him in like other stuff too, because yeah.
Sure,
Yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, I read an interview with him after I saw the movie. He like definitely wants to do some other things too, which I'm excited to to see him. Hopefully, like this, like since it's such a huge moment, like it's probably going to be like one of the best moments like of the year when all is said and done. Like
Yeah.
I hope that it leads to like some like bigger roles and stuff for him.
Yeah, yeah. Because yeah, that was like also just like a good like action beat like scene where it's like, you know, it's like the villains are like approaching the house. The two main characters are somewhere else, and it all comes down to like Reggie, and then he like saves the
Yeah,
day. Yeah, with his
yeah,
Marine
and he like
training.
went to military boot camp and everything, and
Hmm.
like yeah, I mean like the rehearsals like I love stunt stuff and like stunt
Yes.
coordinators and stuff, but just like
Oh,
the rehearsal hours that he was talking about for that is just like insane. Like just to
yeah.
like be able to like match the physical movements of someone else and like defense, like that knife scene, you know, with him in the kitchen. I mean, it's just like it's insane. Yeah.
Yeah. And also I love, I guess, kind of skipping ahead to the ending where it just like ends on him too, where he's like at the barbecue and then they're like, he's like, can I like just use it? And then they're like talking and then they get like intimidated. And then it just ends on him like grinning. And it's like, he earned that last scene, which I guess they also not reshot, but they added to the movie like very late in the game, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
I
that was.
could see that. Because like I kind of thought it was gonna end when they do like the helicopter over like
Yeah.
the finale
Yeah.
wasteland, right? It's like, okay, that's very Bad Boys, right? But then
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
and then I was like, oh, okay, we're still going. And like I'm fine with that because like I've always loved the communal like family heart of these movies. Like even though one and two are like particularly mean-spirited films,
Yeah.
like there's a real like beating soul to them. Like
Yeah.
when Mike and Marcus like they're over at Marcus's house like with the family barbecues like all the time, and it's
Yeah.
just like that's just something they do because they're brothers and they're family. And it's like, that's a very relatable thing for people with like family and like people you care about and stuff. It's like, oh, just
Yeah.
come over,
Yeah.
let's grab a bite, whatever. It's like that's what I think people are really drawn to with these movies. I think
Oh,
that's why people made the Fast and Furious comparisons for so long. I think
Mm.
these newer movies are much more in the Fast franchise territory. Maybe
Yeah.
filling a void those movies can no longer fill for some people. I'm not gonna get into it right now. But but like I think that's why people kind of keep coming back to these. So it makes sense for them to end on like, another
oh,
cookout, and now Reggie's
Yeah.
taking over. He's not replacing Will Smith and Martin Lawrence or
yeah.
anything like that, but it's
Yeah.
just like, they've done their job as bad boys. Now it's his turn to step up and play his part a little
Yeah.
bit more.
It's like they accept him like as a man, you know, like as a
Yeah.
Yeah.
fellow brother, you know. I
Yeah,
Yeah.
like that.
yeah. Yeah, we don't have to like discern the gender essential dynamics of that or anything. Like it's just a movie, but that is
Yeah.
totally like the significance of that. Yeah, absolutely,
Yeah.
well
Yeah.
put. And I will say, I think for Bad Boys 5, because there's no way that doesn't happen now. Just give me one more. I just need one more. Give
One
me
more.
give me a
Yeah.
perfect quintet of
Five.
films.
Five.
Reggie needs to team up with Armando to save them in the third
Yeah.
act of the next movie. That's my pitch for Bad Boys
There you
5.
go. I
I
Because
like it.
love that. Yeah.
yeah, I think that would
Oh,
be such a fun dynamic because Armando's like so hot-headed
yeah.
and just like yeah, it seems like a dude who like is not fun to be around, frankly. And like I
Yeah.
love that character. But he's not really wired
Yeah.
socially the way the other characters are.
Yeah.
Because of his
Yeah.
upbringing. Understandable. And then Reggie's like so like reserved and calm. And so like I just think that'd be like a really fun dynamic. That doesn't have to be the whole movie, but just pair them up for like a chunk of the movie, and I think that's
Yeah.
gold right there,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would I'd also love to see them like go like international. Like
Oh,
I love the Miami setting. Like I definitely want part of
yeah.
it set in Miami, but like I'd also like to see them, you know,
Yeah.
go someplace else, just like
Yeah.
broaden it
Yeah. Go. Yeah. I was gonna say they just can't go to Cuba because it's like I think they're probably banned
out.
after
Yeah,
Bad Boys 2. They're like banned from Cuba after like destroying like a whole
the
city,
country.
the country.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
they invaded it 20 years ago.
Yeah. Well, a
Yeah.
deal on Bilal, and I'm sure you saw this, Richard. They did say if they come back for the fifth one, they want to take it international as well.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
I'd like to see them fuck up Big Ben or something.
Yeah, like a
Yeah.
spy adventure to London,
Yeah.
Yeah.
or like they could go to like Italy or like Amsterdam.
Oh
You know?
yeah, yeah.
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 fuck up Europe a little bit, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And but then here's my one like qualifier is that they have to do what they do in like Furious 7, where it's like, oh, it's a big international adventure. It's like we can't beat these guys. And it's like that's right, because we gotta take them on their home turf. And so the finale has to be in Miami.
Oh, okay.
But
Yeah.
you do
Yeah.
like a bunch of sequences internationally, and I'm totally cool
Yeah.
with that.
Yeah.
More
Yeah.
than fine with that. I would love that.
Yeah.
That'd make me very happy.
Yeah.
I would also love if they did go to like London or somewhere. I would love a Simon Pegg and Nick Frost little cameo.
Oh yeah.
That would be
They
awesome.
yeah, cameoing is like Hot Fuzz or something like because they
Yeah.
love yeah. Well, I was gonna say they're open to doing that because like in the Scott Pilgrim anime, they randomly show up as the characters from Hot Fuzz.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah, if Diego, you haven't seen the
I
Scott
have no,
Pilgrim.
I have Netflix again, and I
Oh,
could have
okay.
watched it because I was bedridden all week. I could have
Oh,
totally
you
watched
couldn't.
it then.
No, but you would have like fallen asleep. You would have like
You know what?
totally.
That's true.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you were telling me you were like you were watching the season premiere of The Bear, and you're like, is this? You're like fever dream. I thought the first episode was a fever dream.
Yeah,
If
because
anyone,
like,
yeah,
yeah, I mean, we don't have to talk about the bear, but like,
it's a good show. It's a good show.
it's a good show. Maybe third season needs a little stronger direction, but narratively, but it's a very good show still. And
Yeah,
that first episode, it's sort of like vignettes, and so I was already just like not in the right headspace with COVID,
yeah.
and so I was just like, I don't know what the fuck's happened. I had to start the episode 4 times, and I was like, I finally finished it, and it was really good, but I straight up thought I was like imagining the show, like it didn't think it was
Yeah,
real.
yeah. Richard, do you watch The Bear really quick before we go back on topic?
I haven't started. It's been on my list for a
Okay.
while. I'm like just getting into The Boys.
Oh,
Uh
nice. Okay.
now, but like it takes me like it's so hard for me to like catch up with shows and like stay on top of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'm sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
because you're a busy guy, but yeah, if you ever get a chance, we both love The Bear. This
Yeah.
is like our
Yeah.
this is like our like secret like obsession is with
Yeah.
this
Yeah,
cooking show.
it's become a comfort show for sure.
Oh,
I
Richard.
throw on episodes when I get home from work
Mhm.
and stuff like that, just to have them in the background.
Yes.
It's nice.
Yeah.
Let's see. Anything else we want to touch on with Bad Boys 4?
Oh, I was gonna say, do you guys obviously I'd want another movie, but if this was the last one, do you feel like this is okay? Like I could say goodbye to this franchise if there's no more movies.
I feel like with the Armando character, like I would want like more resolution between.
Mm.
So I would feel like something was like hanging there because I feel like he's also on a journey, and I feel like he and his dad made a connection in this one, but like they don't have like that bond yet. They're starting to trust each other, but
Yeah.
I feel like that through line needs to be completed.
Yeah. Like I think he found some redemption, but I don't think he's like completely, like his character
Yeah.
arc. Yeah.
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 Yeah, I'd be able to live with it if this was the last one, because then I could be like, well, in my mind, like, Mike and Armando meet up and they make good like internationally, which is
Yeah.
maybe what the fifth movie should be about. But I would be okay with it, but I do want one more to close that loop off, an Armando
Yeah.
trilogy, if you
Yeah.
will.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
agree. And I'd be cool with the Dylan Bilal coming back. I've heard nothing but good things about them as like as like directors in the space. Like just
Yeah.
everyone seems to like them as people, which is
Yeah.
maybe not the most important part of making a movie. I would argue a very important part of making a movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think
Yeah.
you definitely like want to work with people that you like and that are nice, and yeah.
Yeah.
I'm they're rumored for Spider-Man 4, and so I wonder if Sony is gonna have to make a decision on that front between having them do Bad Boys 5 and doing a Spider-Man movie, or if they'll wait, for another Bad Boys, because I feel like Will Smith is about to get very very busy again.
Mhm.
Yeah.
He's got that sci-fi
Oh, yeah.
project that was just announced that sounds really cool. So
Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, I think I think I would love to see them come back to do a fifth movie. I
Yeah.
think not only for the sake of continuity, but I also feel like they've earned it. They've really like come into themselves as directors through this franchise, and yeah, I'm excited to see like you know,
Mhm.
where the future takes them, because I think that they're
Yeah.
really exciting action directors.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree.
Yeah, as do I. And I guess my last note is, yeah, like bring them back. I know Bruckheimer Pictures has to also like approve their directors with Sony and stuff like that. Like there's the whole production side of
Mhm.
stuff. I don't see why they wouldn't at this point. Like it's just look, it clearly works, so let them roll. Um, yeah, I'd be very happy. And look, if they do Spider-Man 4 and they want to do Bad Boys 5, like, just wait. I think part of the reason this franchise sustained itself is that there's been a wait between movies, and Bad Boys 4 didn't come out 2 years after Bad Boys 3. Now, part of that was obviously a pandemic, um, which is clearly still ongoing because I just suffered from it.
Yes.
But um, like, absence can make the heart grow fonder. I think
For
that is
sure.
very true. And people just like Will Smith and Martin Lawrence in these movies. So people will show up. I think that's just clear now. People will show up for these movies no matter how long it's been. So
Yeah.
take the time on
Yeah.
that one. If they go do Spider-Man, I think they're doing something smaller next. I don't know what. This isn't like a rumor. Like I think I just know this. I don't know why I know this. But so Adil and Bilal will step away, do something smaller, and then come back to the Hollywood, and I
Yeah.
think we'll all be waiting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They'll raid David Zaslav's like secret bunker where the negatives for Batgirl are,
Oh,
you know.
I wish.
Maybe.
I wish.
Maybe.
I forget if it was Adil or Bilal, but one of them said like in an interview they were like, can someone like go in and like download the files, and they're like they were already locked out. Like
Oh,
it was locked
Yeah.
out the moment it got announced. And I was
yeah.
like, fuck.
It's like
Bullshit.
there's like a thing like Raiders of the Lost Ark. There's like all these movies Zaslav has, like Coyote versus Acne and like all this other stuff he's keeping. It's like being studied by top men.
Oh, that's depressing.
Like, oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. We're not gonna talk about that anymore. Otherwise, I'm just gonna say mean stuff about a person I'm never gonna meet, but who
I
is
hope
my enemy.
I hope
Um,
not. Yeah.
yeah,
I hope.
yeah.
Yeah.
But that's Bad Boys, Ride or Die. Should have been called Bad Boys for Life. Even Will
Mhm.
Smith and Martin Lawrence said it in one of their little TikTok interviews. So we're all in
Yeah.
agreement. We can just change the title. We can just call Bad Boys 2020 Bad Boys 2020
Yeah.
or Bad Boys 3 and then call this
Yeah.
one Bad Boys for Life. We can all just
Yeah.
do that.
Pull a Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning. No longer part one. It's just Dead Reckoning.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You know, just,
yeah.
Yeah.
Richard, thanks so much for joining us again. You don't have to hold us to this. I sincerely would love for you to come back to talk Alien Romulus when that comes out. If you're
yeah,
available,
for
maybe we
sure.
can
Okay.
make
I'm
something
definitely going
happen.
to do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Putting that on the calendar.
Yeah,
Cool.
yeah, please. That would be awesome. Where can
Hmm.
people find you online? Because you got the best shit, frankly.
Thank you. So I'm on Twitter at newbie Richard 3. Um, they're pretty frequently, mostly talking about movies, trying to take down a few clowns along the way. Uh, I also have a collection of short stories, horror short stories. We Make Monsters Here. That's
Mhm.
available on Amazon, paperback or Kindle. Uh, basically, they're all horror stories, but I think reflections of our contemporary world and how some of the good aspects of our world are kind of snuffed out by these oppressive forces and the times that we live in. But they're also just fun horror stories for you guys to read too.
Yeah.
um and then you can find my work over at the Hollywood Reporter. I do a little bit of video game coverage for Time, a few things for Vulture, and then Fangoria, which you guys, everybody should subscribe to. Fantastic magazine.
Really
Um,
is.
I think some of my best work is in there. Every article that everybody writes is just top tier stuff. So if you haven't subscribed yet, you should do so. They constantly have discounts off subscriptions, so definitely check that out.
Yeah. I could say it's definitely worth it because yeah, I subscribe. Also, I was gonna say I love your book too. I have it in my library back here, So yeah, definitely
Appreciate
give a
it.
read. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, thank you again, Richard. Links down to Gene and I stuff below. You if you're listening and watching, you know where to find us.
Yes.
Yeah, this was another blast. Can't wait to talk to you again soon. Everyone who listened to this episode, like and subscribe. If you didn't like this episode, like and subscribe anyways, because you will find something you do like. If you didn't like this episode, go fuck yourself. But thanks for listening, everyone. Thanks for watching. We have been professionally unprofessional.